as we say, we'll be right back. Welcome back, listener. How are you? All right, this is the Aaron's Opinion podcast. We're speaking with Jessie Anderson, illegally cited. Before the break, you were talking about how Uber and Lyft have made things a lot easier for you in St. Paul. Why don't you keep talking a little bit more about those apps and what you think about all of that? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I do like. I grew up on originally. I grew up on a farm, and so I do like living in kind of a rural area. But as somebody who is legally blind, I came to the early realization that, well, as much as I like the nice, open areas and peace and quiet and everything, um, just to be independent, because I really highly value being able to just be on my own, support myself, that kind of a thing. And I kind of quickly realized that, yeah, I'm probably going to have to live in a larger metro area so that, at the time I could use the bus system or public transportation. But now that we have, like I said, not just things like Uber and Lyft, but even, Amazon and Amazon Prime. I mean, it's so useful, so useful. And things like local, even grocery delivery services, because, I can go to the grocery store, and I do go to the grocery store, but it's difficult often even with low vision, because what do they do in retail? They love to rearrange what's on the shelves constantly. So just when you
That
kind of
drives
start to figure out
that
where
drives
things are,
I will tell you the truth about that. That drives my sighted parents crazy.
that
So
drives
my
everybody crazy.
my sighted parents can't keep up with that either. So
Right. And so I came to
it's
the
not just
realization,
it's not just for blind people, and it's not just for people who are illegally sighted. It's people
right.
for everyone. Everyone is equally annoyed by the rearranging. I have a of course I always have a theory behind everything. My theory about that is that they think, well, if we can get Mr. Anderson to walk around the store trying to find the stuff he needs,
Exactly.
maybe we'll get lucky, and maybe Mr. Anderson will buy something he doesn't need.
That's exactly why they do it. I know exactly why they do it. And you're
Yeah.
absolutely right on that. And so what happened was, I found out that there was a couple stores in the area that did delivery services. And during the wintertime, it can be so difficult to trudge through the snowbank or not falling your face on the ice, that kind of a thing. So I thought, I'm going to start, getting delivery for the wintertime. And then I'm like, this works really well. I can I can use my app, or I can use a website. I can, build up my shopping list, boom, have it ordered and delivered. I mean, time is money sometimes too. And like, if it's a $5 delivery fee, or I pay what is it, like, $90 a year for free delivery, you know what? That's totally worth it, because you save that over time. And it's just so much more convenient. So I've kind of been a big fan of that the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's really valuable, I think. I think that my generation has completely embraced this idea of, getting food delivered, this whole sort of, delivery culture, I guess.
Hmm. Well, and again, I think it helps level the playing field, because again, like if I was going to the store and I was taking the bus, okay, I got to get there, then I got to find someone to help me find things on the shelves, unless I wander around forever looking for it myself. And then I got to figure out how to get it all home. I can only carry so much, and so being able to just say, I don't want to shop for groceries, every other day. I want to shop every couple of weeks. if I get it delivered, I can do that. And so I think, especially when when the iPhone and smartphones really began to be a thing, the things that, to me, there's really no excuse. Like people can, there's so much out there that can make people, that can help people be independent. I'm not saying technology solves everything, because it doesn't, but like, the computer, the internet, the iPhone, that kind of a thing, all those things are so helpful. I can have access to any book or reading material I want to. I can take a picture of objects and identify them, or I can take a picture of text and have them read aloud. I can pay my bills, do my banking, shop, just all of these things that, you would often back in the day would have to have some sort of assistance for. Yeah. And then just being able to use all of, again, being able to use all of those types of things in the workplace, so that, yeah, you can tell an employer that, yeah, if I have a few of these tools with me, I can largely still be a valued, asset to your team.
And that's really what I have found, over the years. I mean, basically my story, I'll summarize it for you. I don't
Sure.
know, I've told bits and pieces of it in my podcasts over the months, but I don't know which bits and pieces you have put together. So I'll put together all the bits and
Sure.
pieces and say that basically my story is that I'm blind like you. I live somewhere in North America. I have a degree in international relations, and I have found that over the years, in dealing with many, many different employers and many different possibilities in life, the issue of blindness always has to come up in some way, some way or another. The issue of someone's blindness is part of the decision. And
Mm-hmm.
and I'll tell you what I really think about this, and by the way, you're welcome to disagree, because everything I say, this is an opinion podcast, not a fake podcast. I think not a this is an
Yeah.
opinion. This is an opinion podcast, not a fact podcast. I kind of think that really what our country as a whole needs to try to do, as far as legislation goes, is we need to try to pass some sort of a federal law that states something like, when someone who's blind or has any sort of disability, when they go in for a job, the law should say that you are required by federal law to tell the employer all of that information up front. Because I think that the employers who understand that blindness is an asset will always be there. And the employers who would say, well, no, I just won't hire you because you're blind, they'll always be there. I think the result would be the same or close to it. But I mean, you work in that field. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely have mixed feelings on
Sure,
that.
that's fine.
Um, and there's just a whole thing, a lot of different groups, but like people with disabilities especially, there's a lot of kind of myths and misconceptions as to what we're capable of. And I think there's a lot of not only assumptions, but I think there's also a lot of low expectations. It's like, oh, well, this person's disabled. I mean, I've had people, was surprised that, I had people ask me a couple of years ago, like, oh, well, you can actually work. It's kind of like, you're a miracle just because you can dress
Yeah.
yourself and get out of bed every day. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm blind. I'm not
exact,
an idiot.
precise. And my last guest, and listener, I haven't. Well, I don't know when you would be listening to this on the radio. You might have already heard it, so I don't know when this will be aired out. Yeah, my last guest also had some of the same frustrations. She's a digital artist. That was an interest. That was an interesting recording for sure, for
Yeah.
many reasons. But we were talking about those. Yeah, people still believe these myths. And I asked her, and I'll ask you, I think um, do you know what the most, and this shows how ignorant society is. Do you know what the most commonly Googled question about blind people is? And you can say it,
Uh,
because this podcast is marked as explicit, so you can say it.
yeah,
It
no, I truthfully don't know, but I'm genuinely curious.
well, what would you think it is?
Well, when you, I don't, I'm not sure. Go ahead.
How do blind people wipe?
And to me, that's such a dingbat question, and to begin with, because really, I
Well,
don't know, but like
yeah, yeah. I'm not. No, I'm not. Understand.
a
I'm
sighted
not. I'm not
person,
Google. I'm not googling it. I'm just telling.
right,
I'm
right.
not googling it. I'm
But I
just
mean,
telling you that's
like,
the most Googled thing apparently.
yeah, and it's weird to me. It's like, if you're sighted, like you can't see down there. I mean, what do you put like a mirror down there when you walk? I mean, it just doesn't. The logic just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. But the social point that I make on my podcast about
Sure.
that is that so the point behind it is if we still have a society in our great country like the United States, if we have
Right.
people in our country who are Googling that, then no wonder we have so many other problems with employment for people with disabilities.
Oh,
So
absolutely. And
it
I've really,
shows the gross ignorance and oftentimes ineptitude of people, I
and
think.
I think, yeah, there's a good combination. I mean, there's so many complex issues with that whole area because it's, some of it is, yeah, lack of motivation, for the people themselves, being blind or visually impaired. But a
Hmm.
lot of it is, the systems that are in place not really encouraging you to get off of some of these government benefit systems. But a lot of it also is the fact that, you have just a lot of these, if people think that we can't wipe ourselves, I mean, they're not going to think we can do much else. And so
Right,
again,
and
there's
that's
these
it's
low
exactly
expectations.
the point. That's precisely what my point is about it.
Hmm.
It's very I think it's very I think it's very shameful, and I think it's very concerning that in a country as successful as the United States, you think we would have moved past that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you would.
And I also find though that on top of society, I find that there is a It's kind of one of my other guests was really frustrated by it, and it's someone who's recently become blind as an older adult, which must be I can't even fathom that because I was born blind too. But he was saying how there's basically these two groups of blind people,
Hmm.
and the group that was the other fact that is oftentimes I know that you're aware of it, but just in general, it's often
Sure.
overlooked that people who become blind as older adults have a significantly harder time adjusting and truly finding value in
Oh
themselves
yeah.
in life. That's
I
a
I
lot harder.
mean, I can only, I can't pretend to understand that because I've had the vision that I've had all my life. But I mean, even with the remaining vision that I do have, if I were to go completely blind, yes, I would have a leg up because I have gone through different types of blindness training over the years. I know technology, I do know Braille, I do know some O&M techniques, those types of things. But I'm not going to lie and say, oh, if I lost my vision, it would just be, oh, not much of a difference, because I do use my vision for a lot of things. Yes, I do a lot of things audibly and tactily, but there's a lot of things that I still do that I would really, really miss. And it would be kind of devastating if I lost all of my vision. I mean, I could deal with it,
Yeah, yeah,
but
I
it would bum
that's
me out.
it's interesting. I'm not I tonight I do not want to name drop. I've already done that before and it was not a problem, but I'm not going to do it tonight. I was
Yeah.
listening to another podcaster who does podcasts for blind people, and the topic was you'll know it, but you'll know it right away. He was
Uh,
talking recently about this whole new bionic or not bionic, this whole like computer eye thing, where supposedly people within the next 5 years, if they're blind, would be able to like install an eye or have some surgery with like a bionic or some sort of a eye something or other, some sort of a
mm-hmm.
computer eye. And he asked his audience this question. He asked the audience, he says, so if you are blind, would you have that surgery and have that done to your eye and have this bionic eye? I'm happy to tell you what I think. What do you think about it? If you had the chance to have your vision restored with this bionic eye,
Yeah.
this
And
new
I've
tech.
been asked that before too. And I think, ultimately, until I knew for sure that the success rate was really high and that, I don't know honestly what I would do. But if I had to honestly say, I'm generally happy with the vision that I do have. And I
Right.
probably wouldn't, because A, I have some vision. I would hate to have anything go wrong and then it would get botched or something and it would be even worse.